Good afternoon. This is Blue Laker. This show, Radio Tribune, is here in Las Vegas. We're on 9th Street, so we invite people to come by, and just to let you know how convenient it is, we're 9th and Charleston-ish. Okay, I said 9th and Charleston-ish, okay, but it's on 9th Street. And so, we're going to be talking about a number of different subjects, and a couple of those are very important. Like I notice here that in the Tribune, we've said, just say no to the Harry Reid Airport. Harry Reid doesn't need an airport after in his name. And we don't need to promote his kinfolk, namely his sons. For what? What has he done for Nevada? What he's done for Nevada is disgraceful. What he's done to the bunnies is even more disgraceful. So we don't need to praise somebody who, in fact, has been responsible for many acts against Nevada. And Nevada, we're not just talking, oh yes, he's a great senator for what? The only thing I can see Harry Reid really did was for the Veterans Administration, and the care that they get at that facility. Yes, that's one thing that I have to give credit to. On the other hand, there's many other things that I have to discredit it for, because he has not allowed us to move forward. In 2010, I believe it was 2010, I wrote him a letter basically saying we had an opportunity to be the first tri-state, or the first state in the union to be a tri-state power source through solar, water, and wind. And that was to take place out of Hoover Dam. Because we have the facilities there, because we have the transmission lines already in place, and because we supply a lot of power and water to California. But no, I just got a standard form letter back saying we're working on it. Well, that's been a long time in taking place, and as far as I'm concerned, thank God Harry Reid is gone, but not forgotten. Yes, we're going to forget about him, because the atrocities that are committed against certain members of America, or Americans, can't be overlooked. What he did was out of greed, corruption, and political power. And what he's trying to do is pass this on to his sons. Well, first of all, that's not going to happen. Oh, yes, I understand that, quote unquote, Nevada is potentially a boost state, and that anything is possible with the Democrats under those conditions. But those things are going to change as well, because we have a new president now who has pledged that America is first and foremost, and that states' rights are part of his program. And states' rights, by the way, is one of the issues that I have with Harry Reid, because Harry Reid, instead of working for states' rights, has worked against it, and worked with the Chinese to give away our public lands. Perhaps not give it away, but he was in the forefront of those negotiations with China, and it was all about money that was going to go into his family. Yes, his sons were part of that conspiracy, and yes, it was a conspiracy. And when they did the BLM raid at the Bundy Ranch, it was because Harry Reid was in the back of it, and through contemptuous acts have placed the Bundy family, a very religious organization, in jail. Oh, not the whole family, but of course the men. A very religious group who only were interested in preserving states' rights for you and me here in Nevada. Well, you're going to hear a lot of rhetoric from, of course, the other side being Harry Reid's cohorts. Oh, you think he doesn't have enough power? You don't think there's collusion? I don't believe that's the case. I believe that we can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was in back of this whole mess. And rather than reward him with an airport under his name, we should file charges against him so that he can be punished for the actions that he's taken and what he's done to many families who didn't deserve it. Oh, I know that the laws don't allow for the prosecution of legislatures, or it's ineffective because of the power that they have during their tenure and after their tenure by political, if you were, friends. Take, for example, Harry Reid going to the mayor of Henderson when his son was vying for the position of attorney for the city of Henderson. And his son didn't have the qualifications necessary for him to take the job. But good old Harry Reid went to his good friend, the mayor, and told him, well, what can we do about this? And what they did about it was change the law so that his son could qualify for a $250,000 job a year. You talk about hypocrisy, you talk about political favors, you talk about bribery, extortion, it's there. And those are the things that disturb me, or part of the things that disturb me about Harry Reid. This will be an ongoing situation, and the truth will come to light sooner or later. So I hope you'll find, when we start getting into that topic, you're going to find that there's a lot of things that you didn't know about. And there's been a lot of brainwashing through the media and other organizations that Harry Reid controlled. Well, you know, that's one of the problems we have right now with the administration. And I don't mean the Trump administration. I'm talking about the Obama administration and their power and their lust for power. And the divisiveness that has been created by the Democrats against the Republicans, wherein they have decided to bring every infraction, they would call it, up about Trump, whether it's with Russia, whether it's with some of the nominees that he has put on the platform, anything to stop him from moving forward. And I say this: divided we fall, united we stand. So if you want to be part of the division and see us fall, then go ahead and stick with your ideology. But I think Judge, and I'm not quite sure that I pronounced it right, Gorsuch has said, as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, it should not be about politics at all. He said, any judge that's elected should be doing it on the merits of the case and the law, with no regard to political affiliation. And anyone who's on the bench that does anything other than that should be removed. Now, he didn't say that because I said it. But the point is that we cannot have merits based upon political decisions or political favorism. They have to be based on the law. The law. You know, even God has laws. Basically, they're condensed down into the Ten Commandments. I don't think that's too much for us to ask of any person. Very simple. Very simple law. Yes, they do have. They have some areas of potential, not they're very clear, but there may be some cases where there is room for discussion, but not really. And the same thing is true of our Constitution. There's really not much room for discussion, or for people who would like to alienate and change the Constitution of the United States. It's been good enough for 200 years. It will continue to be that way for the next 200 years, provided we get rid of those who incite other people in an undemocratic way. Undemocratic? Yes, undemocratic way. And for us to be under the threat of political affiliation because of benefits to individuals or groups that benefit from the facilities and resources that the United States has is not right. That's why we have such a huge deficit. And that's why we have to take some action against it. And it can't be middle of the road. It has to be very, very decisive. We have to cut out the cancers where we can. We have to stop the deficit from growing. We have to reverse that. We need to pay off any of the debts that we have if we can. And if not, we can't pass them on. So, we put ourselves in a very poor position by allowing these things to happen. You can say, well, we allowed them to happen. No, we did not allow them to happen. The government did. Unfortunately, the government has been in the hands of too many liberals who have allowed too many things, and it's gotten to the point where we just can no longer afford to sit by idly and not do something about it. So the Trump administration brings a breath of fresh air into what was a deplorable situation beforehand. Oh yes, I said deplorable because that's the word Hillary Clinton used. The only difference is she was deplorable. Oh, I understand there have been a lot of people who voted for her, but they didn't understand the facts and the information and what she's been complicit in, or take into consideration her history. What we've seen with the Trump administration, he's done what he said he's going to do, and he's intent on doing the rest of it, and that's why we looked in, because we were looking for new light at the end of the tunnel. Now you have to be part of the new light. You have to help make America great again. It's not a one-man job. It takes all of us to make these things happen and happen in the right way. We can look at all of the objections that all of the other groups bring to us. But I have to say that in most cases, and I certainly have no problem with legal immigration and a cap on the number of immigrants that can come into this country at one time or during the course of the year. But I do have a problem with illegals who have taken over our society and our money, causing us to have this, right now, unsolvable deficit. So those are things that we're going to be addressing, and yes, it's going to affect some people who maybe don't like it, but that's unfortunately too bad. I'm going to give you an example. This goes back to the Second World War, when we had to bomb Japan, Hiroshima in particular. And we dropped the A-bomb on them, and of course, thousands and thousands of people paid the price. But it didn't stop the war, did it? Did we have any concern at that point about the collateral damage that was done to the men, women, and children of Japan? Well, maybe we had a concern. You see, we could differentiate between men, women, and children because they were collectively together. And our new war right now is God versus God against Allah. And we have to take the same approach. In the final analysis, we have to eliminate the Islamic terrorist and make sure that they don't have the power to come back time after time after time. You would think that history would be enough to say, okay, we're going to get it done. You would think it would be enough for our allies to come together and to fight this in a way that makes sense. But the truth of the matter is sometimes we overcomplicate the issues and we don't think of the many options that are available. And believe me, there's not just 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's probably dozens. A lot of times those options are never brought to light. Never brought to light. Because we, as the simple majority, simple being we're not legislators, we're not in the media, we don't have the opportunity of expressing ourselves, and a lot of times, with 330 million people in this country, it gets shoved under the desk someplace and never sees the day of light. Well, that's too bad, because there's many, many ideas that go unnoticed that need to be put in place. We've seen that with some of the billionaires who have come out of nowhere, out of their garage, and become multi-millionaires and billionaires because they had an idea that was essential at the time. So why don't we open it up to discussion, limit it to a degree about where we're going and the things that we need to get accomplished, and listen to people so that Donald Trump, our Commander-in-Chief, our President of the United States, can listen and be our voice. Because that's what he promised. He said, I will be your voice. And I say to him and to you, let's make sure he hears us and can make an intelligent decision on how to proceed, because there's a lot of ideas out there that need to be explored. Whether it's mine or someone else's matters not. What matters most is America, and America must be first. Every other consideration, if it doesn't fall under improvement for America, does not need the attention of making us a world power again. You can say, well, we're the world's most powerful nation. Militarily? Well, maybe, yeah. But that doesn't mean that we are liked in other countries. As a matter of fact, apparently we're not, because ISIS is doing a heck of a job in bringing the battle to us. Yes, what is it, 35, 40? I don't remember it anymore. It used to be 35 atrocities committed here in the United States with thousands and thousands of people being killed. Here in the United States, unthinkable 20 or 30 years ago. Unthinkable. And today, it's commonplace. And of course, we're not the only ones. We're seeing attacks in London, Paris, major cities, even small communities, and even with people we have vetted, and given high security clearance to. So what are we supposed to do? Sit by and wait until they attack again? Or should we go on the offensive? And should we go in force? The answer is yes. Just like Hiroshima, you said, well, that's a bad example. Well, I'm sorry, that's a good one. Because it shows that unless you are dominant and, of course, right, then all you can do is wait and see what happens. Wait and see what happens when they start the attack. Oh, that's right, we've already seen it. Well, now is the time for us to rethink our policies that can reflect upon us in a very positive way. You know, we talk about, we always hear this rhetoric about, oh, Russia interfered with the presidential election. You know what? So did Obama. So did England. Said, hey, we're not even going to let this guy come into the country. And you're picking on Russia? It just so happens that Russia has been with us as allies in wars. And they're probably closer akin to the population of the United States than most of the other countries, except perhaps Germany. And the point is that we need to show force, and the collectiveness of Russia, Germany, and the United States would make us an extremely powerful group to deal with. And that's what we need to overcome ISIS. To ferret out all of their idealistic plans and to destroy them and allow them to come back into the human race. This is not about Islam. It's not about Christianity. It's about life and the ability to get along peacefully. And I believe that's what the Lord has said, that we will have 1,000 years of peace. And I say to you, where does it begin? But we're going to see just exactly how people are going to react and hopefully come to common sense. It's not the most complicated plans in the world that work. It's the simple ones. And there's an expression, keep it simple, stupid. But now that's not referring to you as an individual. It's about referring to groups and organizations who think they have the master plan and it's so complicated you don't even know where to start. The formula is simple. Putting it to work doesn't take oppositions, it takes cooperation. And the ability to want and to desire for your country and your fellow Americans or fellow Russians, for example, that you're doing the best job possible to ensure their safety, welfare, and future of their particular country. Oh yes, there's different countries, whether it's the Chinese, the Japanese, the people from El Salvador and so forth, they all have their customs and desires. And they should be able to operate in their own sphere without reflecting upon the values of other countries. And why did God decide that we weren't all going to be the same? Because in His divine wisdom, He wanted people to be able to make their own decisions, not only for their current generations, but for generations to come. And that's what we need to do, is we need to come together in a compact that designates not necessarily what we can do, but as a guideline to prosperity and peace. When we do that, we're on our way. Now, I've been talking to you over the last couple of days about Obamacare, and I'm going to discuss that just a little bit further today. And I've tried to send out this information to some of the representatives, but frankly, I've had not a lot of success in finding emails. I find if you're a constituent of my region, I will take a look at it and see what you have to say. But if you are not a member of my district, well, I really don't have time. Well, would we say that to Bill Gates? Suppose we had. Look where we would have been if we hadn't listened to him. He was able to bring something to the table. And we all have something that maybe can help that work. Well, Obamacare is one of those issues that needs to be straightened out because it's exploding within. It's deteriorating. It's going to run out of money, or it's going to put us in an even deeper crisis than we ever had before. But let's say, for example, that there was another program that could take over Obamacare, or at least temporarily until there's another program that meets the standards of the population as far as doctors, visits, just specialists, all kinds of things. Now, I haven't done enough complete research, but according to the information I had, there's over 248 million, 248,000, doctors in the United States, 248,000 doctors in the United States. Of course, there's 330 million people, so we don't have one for each one, but it's obvious that we have a lot of doctors here, but maybe not enough. And we do know that the cost of medical care is expensive. But the problem with that is necessarily, why are these things so expensive? Is it $1,400 to take a ride in an ambulance for 3 miles? Sounds a little bit prohibitive, doesn't it? Do we need to reduce the regulations? Do we need to increase the number of caretakers that are available to us? And is there a way that we can satisfy the needs of both clients or patients and doctors and surgeons and do it in a way that makes sense? I think there is. I think there is a way that we can satisfy that and provide service to more people, including indigents, to be able to provide them with something that they cannot do by themselves, because this is what it's all about. We really have to kind of help each other. Now, in some cases, it's not possible, but those cases are, I'm going to say, few and far between in real terms. There are some cases that are just not possible to deal with. And a lot of times it's because of the patient. But there is a way to make it comfortable for each and every person in the United States. And there's certain guidelines for certain groups, whether we like it or not. I mean, if you've been healthy all of your life and you've been keeping your insurance all of your life, is it any different than Social Security? Shouldn't you be entitled to a certain amount of care that falls under Medicare? Or should you just be cut off at the end because you simply ran out of money? Well, most of the seniors I know have earned their place in society. They have done their job, and they're entitled to the Social Security and other benefits that Social Security brings. You can say, well, yeah, but this guy's 80 years old, or 85 years old, or 90 years old. Doesn't matter. He qualified for the program that he has. If he needs help, what do? Well, there's many things that we can do, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. There are things that we can do to help helpable circumstances. There's a lot of cases that we can't help. And since I'm not a doctor, I'm not really qualified to say what is a case that couldn't be helped? Well, I can think of a couple of things. If you're being eaten up from the inside and there's just absolutely no way, no scientific way to cure it, that's a situation that, unfortunately, in a lot of cases is fairly quick, and doesn't mean that we can't provide them comfort until they have some. But there's no practical medical way of curing them. And in those situations, we have a different set of rules and regulations that have to come into play. On the other hand, we have people who are just too poor. Now, if it's their own fault, that's one thing. But if it's not their own fault, if they simply cannot take care of some small matters, whether it's mumps or measles or any of those things, simply they deserve care, because guess what? That could be infectious to the rest of society. So we better take care with what we say qualifies and what doesn't qualify. Broken arm. The guy has a broken arm and nobody fixes it. Where's what's going to happen? We're going to have to cut it off. We still have the medical cost involved. Wouldn't it be easier to fix the arm? I think so. Now, according to reports, that certain proposals of the intended GOP reorganization or repeal of Obamacare will cut 20 million people off medical assistance. Now, it should be noted that in 1985, Ronald Reagan created Cobra. Now, Cobra is not a medical plan. Cobra is not a medical plan. What it is Cobra is a law. That is right. In 1985, Ronald Reagan created Cobra, and it became a law. And what it does, it allows continued coverage for up to 18 months with your existing caretaker. Now, that continued medical program was for people on a job, specifically, not entirely, for people who have been on a job, lost their job, or quit their job, and want to continue insurance until they can get another program. Now, did you hear what I said? Can continue their insurance until they get another program. In this particular case, we're talking about a program designed and built by the legislatures. Now, the good part about Cobra is that it includes pre-existing conditions and so forth. And it's 48 pages long, so it's highly unlikely that I'm going to be able to do 48 pages in 4 minutes. But it is possible for me to tell you where you can find out about it. And you can look at Cobra on the internet, and you can look at the law of Cobra, which is 48 pages of continuing requirements applicable to group health plans. Carefully, I'm going to read that again. 48 pages of continuation requirements applicable to group health plans. Basically what it's saying is, if you have a health plan, you can continue on with it for up to 18 months. Oh, gee, I didn't know about that. Well, what's in Cobra? Read it. Because I can't explain it to you in a few minutes. But what I can tell you is it will kill Obamacare, and it'll be done with King Cobra. Yes, it's an extension or an amendment to the existing Cobra law program. And I have to reiterate that we're talking about a law that doesn't really require any legislative conditions, that we can implement that immediately and take the people in Obamacare and put them into Cobra. Oh yes, there's an expense, but it can be modified, and the Obamacare has some subsidies included in the program. I'm going to say it again. Cobra is a continuation of your existing insurance plan. So if there happens to be subsidies associated with that, then they will continue until Obamacare is replaced. Does that mean that the legislatures better get off their tail? Yes, that's exactly what it means. It means they have up to 18 months to create a program that's acceptable by the American public. And the sooner they get off it, the more money we save, the more money they save. And isn't that what it's all about? Providing as much care as we possibly can and reducing cost? Well, how are you going to reduce cost? Well, again, this program, and today's program in particular, isn't long enough for me to go into all of that. But is there a way? Yes. There's always a way. Is my program the best? Heck, I don't know. I haven't seen the other programs. But what I can say is that it is the law. And as Trump's nominee, Judge Gorch, has indicated, this is not about politics. It's about the law. And if we can't abide by the law, if we can't do the things, we got a problem. Just like at the border. If we don't have any borders, we don't have a country. And there's laws there in our Constitution that says we will defend the borders of the United States. So we can relate that to our way of life. There's rule and order. Unlike conventional thinking that someone is trying to create world order, we say no. We say we are trying to create law and order specific to the United States and applicable to other countries if they so adopt to do so. So in closing today, I want to bring you again to the point that there are policies available, and it's up to you to get involved to make them happen. Because they do listen to what their representatives are supposed to deliver. And if the representatives don't represent what their constituents have passed on to them, then they're going to have a problem in 2018. So again, this is Blue Laker, and this is Cobra USA at the Tribune, Radio Tribune,